Assalamu alaikum, hope you all are doing fine. Let's start with the second part of our story. I sold my religion for money and my punishment started in this duniya. The old woman added, listen, I will give you the original and true way to call on Queen Kala. You can only find it in original magic books and they are rare and not found anywhere, so I require that you do your part in return. I need Kala and something she can find for me in a certain grave. I cannot call her because I'm a woman and she deals only with young men like you, so do not think of playing me. And she grabbed my hand and wrote something in it, and suddenly I fell unconscious. I woke up in the garden of that old woman an hour later and she was standing looking down at me. She said, now you can see what I can do to you if you think of playing me. Here's the ritual, and she threw a page on my face and she added, I hope you know what you must sacrifice if you enter this world. I replied, what do you mean? She said, you must stop praying and commit shirk. You can no longer be a Muslim, it's the condition of making a contract with the jinns. For a moment I was sad, then a voice spoke in my head and said, what did you gain from praying and worshipping Allah all your life anyway? And I replied to that old woman, deal, and I left. I was sitting in my hotel room holding the paper of the ritual and there was a picture of Kala and the ingredients required for the ritual, so I went to the store and bought all what was needed, and for the first time in my life that day when I heard Adhan I got up for Salah, and then I remembered what the old lady said and a tear fell from my eyes and I said, forgive me for this ya Allah, and I stopped praying. The second worst thing I did was fasting for the sake of Kala and not for the sake of Allah. Her ritual required fasting for days and eat certain food. You see how they humiliate us? And sadly, I did it, and I won't mention the disgusting things I did for this ritual. I finished everything and the appointed day came and I kept calling on Kala alone in my hotel room for hours. I knew the steps of what will happen, and suddenly the air thickened in the room and I heard weird noises until Kala appeared to me out of nowhere and I froze from shock. Kala bint Birkin stood right in front of me and she looked exactly like the picture. She has a long black hair and brown skin and she wore a white dress and a gold crown on her head, and for an instant I couldn't breathe from both fear and shock. I knew what to do next. Since she came herself, it means that she approved of me, so I gave her the piece of bread I held in my hand and she took it from me, which means that I was accepted and the contract was made, and she disappeared in a second. I couldn't sleep at night and a verse from Quran came to my head like a warning where Allah says, will you take Shaitan and his children as allies instead of me while they are your enemies? I knew what I was doing was destroying me, but money blinded me, and the next day Kala came back again and I told her what I wanted. Since she was expert in finding treasure, she led me to a graveyard where I found my first treasure. Once I came back to my family, both my wife and my mother complained because I used to go out every night going with Kala to search treasures and come back only in mornings, and I asked Kala for a way to make them not question anything, and she taught me how to practice magic on food, and once my mother and my wife ate that food they started to be silent and not question anything. Yes, I did magic on my own family. I became wealthy and bought a new house, and people started to question from where I became rich, since they all knew I was a simple farmer who was poor, and my mother and wife didn't question anything since they were under the influence of magic, and seeing the jinns has become normal to me. I saw many servants and guards of Kala when she sent them to me. After the months passed, I asked Kala a question, why didn't you marry me yet? And she smiled and replied, because you are married already. We jinn queens do not share the man we take as husband, and certainly not with a human woman. And she added, if you want me to take you as husband, you must divorce your human wife. And the choice was made already in my head. I did not hesitate and I went home and divorced my wife. Part 3 will be shared this Sunday, inshallah. Till then, like, share, subscribe and support our channel.